Hello everybody, welcome to New Earth Teachings on Facebook Live. Very happy that all of you are here with me tonight. So this is the very first episode where I am debuting the old New Earth Teachings webcast. This time it is on Facebook instead of YouTube. So again, the parameters, so to speak, of the webcast are the same as they were when I was broadcasting on YouTube. We'll have people here in the chat who want to ask any particular questions or share any comments through myself or through Adronis, as tonight is just all about an open Q&A. Next week we'll definitely have a topic that we're going to look into and discuss, but tonight we're just going to have kind of an open forum, and just any questions or comments that anybody wants to share, feel free to do so. Before we get into the Q&A, I'll just have a couple of announcements. One announcement is that the Channeling Development online course is going to be debuting on January 2nd, 2018. This is an online course. It's kind of like a subscription service, kind of like a Netflix, and for a certain monthly rate, you'll be able to access several hours of original content, as well as receiving the Adronis 4-phase courses for this online channeling course that's going to be available. So there's going to be a lot of videos, there's going to be some guided meditations, there's going to be some MP3s, there's going to be some PDFs, and we're going to be looking not only into channeling, but we're also going to be looking into psychic and intuitive development. We're also going to have some healing aspects come through. Adronis is also going to have his own section, and he's going to be teaching channeling through, again, interactive video, simply because your comments and your feedback through the online course is going to allow the generating of more content, more videos, more MP3s, etc. So again, it's going to be a really exciting course, and that's going to be debuting in the new year. So it's taken me a while to get it off the ground. So much other stuff has been happening, but finally I'm able to get this going, and there will be multiple parts to the course. The best thing, of course, is that it is a certified channeling development course as well too, which means you're able to get online certification for both channeling and for psychic practitioner as well too. So again, a lot of exciting things that are going to be coming forward for that. And again, debuting January 2nd, 2018. And of course, there's some free e-courses that are going to come up through newearthteachings.com. So all you have to do is just scroll down to the bottom of the home page. You'll see that little sign-up box, putting your name and email there. And then you'll get instant access to some free e-courses that are going to be debuting. The recent one we did was the abundance dimension. And again, I had a lot of fun with that one. Had a lot of great information that was shared. And of course, you can just go to my Facebook profile page and you can check that out as well too. So it's free to view. Go ahead and check it out. The other ones were Evolving the Inner Journey and the Language of Synchronicity. So that is also going to be available on the e-course section. I'm just looking to put that up this week. Again, just getting all these other things, all these loose ends tied up. So again, I'm happy all of you are here. So we're going to go ahead and open up the chat room floor, so to speak, and any particular questions that anybody may have for tonight's broadcast, feel free to share. And again, it can be comments, it can be questions. I would just ask everybody, how are you doing? How are things going these past few days? Of course, recently on my Facebook, I have had some posts about some intense energies taking place in the middle of the night. I was just going through some incredible emotional stuff. It wasn't anything like in regards to personal life and stuff like that. A lot of it was, again, pretty much financial. But fortunately, I was able to smooth it out the next morning. But there are some definite shifts that are taking place upon the planet right now. I've been talking to a lot of people. They've been feeling it as well too. So we're not alone, guys. We have a lot of shakeups that are taking place, and we feel like it's almost as if someone is cranking a dial, and they're cranking this dial up so high that these frequencies are now just kind of going deeply into your core and just being able to, quote unquote, vomit, purge a lot of these dense energies and come to the surface. And that's what we're basically going through right now. It feels like we're just going through an immense purge. We are transforming, exponentially by leaps and bounds. And I've always referred to 2017 as the year of integration. As the year of connection. year of integration was the previous year, as the year of connection. And this is all about connecting to our own source, connecting to our own shadows, connecting to our own light, and going through this intense purging. And of course, as we move into 2018, which represents the year of renewal, which Adronis has talked about, that's the start of the storm, right? So this is going to get more and more intense, but as we continue to work with ourselves, as we continue to work on our emotions, our feelings, as we start to work on these dramas, we're going to bring all of the shadows back together. So I'm just going to read some comments here in the chat here. So we got one here from Georgiana. Sounds great. What a start of the new year. Yeah, it's going to be great. I'm also going to be working on creating some local events here in British Columbia, Canada, where I am. And then eventually moving down to the United States, not moving as in, but going down to the United States to create some more of these particular local and live events and getting some really great presenters and speakers who want to join me as well too. So my goal is to really make New Earth Teachings a big phenomenon, and just being able to share events, conferences, perhaps even expos that are featured through New Earth Teachings. So we're going to go really, really far with this, and I could use everybody's help. Anybody who really wants to volunteer and help help with booking and getting these events going. Again, that's the plan for 2018, is getting New Earth Teachings on the map and just being able to hold these events and have an incredible time meeting new people and sharing all this information that I've been sharing the past near 10 years now. So a lot of fun. We've got a comment here from Zion Zeta. Brad, I have been feeling highly cranky recently and sleeping more than usual. No idea what is happening cosmically, but I'm feeling it for sure. Yeah, well, join the club, you and me both, and I think a lot of us as well. Yeah, I mean, I've had my cranky moments as well too, but they haven't been too cranky. They've actually been pretty good. I've just been doing a lot of work on myself, and a lot of what that entails is creating an inner workbook. And that inner workbook is me going back from the youngest ages and looking into my memories and seeing that if there are any harsh situations that have taken place karmically with another person in my life, I'm writing all of that information down. I'm taking in all of that info, and I'm just writing out the entire situation that's taken place, and then I just kind of leave it for a little bit. Then I come back to it, and then when I'm ready to go more into an observer, neutral state, I look at what I wrote and say, okay, this is exactly why I've attracted this particular person in my life. This is exactly what I was going through in my life. This is the trauma that I was working with. So basically, it's self-trauma therapy in that way. It kind of goes to where the light circuitry attunements go, but I'm not really using light circuitry for this. I'm basically just kind of utilizing that form of technique and looking into what the situation has been and helping to alleviate that karma altogether. And I've done that, and I'm just still doing it. It's something that can take days, weeks, months, or even years. It just depends how much intensity has been in your life. But really, you're doing internal gardening work, right? So the garden within yourself has all these weeds, and you're basically just going right to the source and saying, what is the cause of so many of these weeds? What are these emotional weeds that are leading into the traumatic source, right? Then we go into that source and we just start to document everything, and we just bring love. We bring love to the entire situation. I now understand exactly why so many people have been a part of my life where I've had shaky times. And again, I'm just feeling much more lighter. Again, there's a financial situation that I'm taking care of right now. It's AKA taxes. So taking care of that, getting that all resolved right now. Because it's actually, I've had quite a break from going to the taxes stuff. So it's now just coming back karmically and just getting it all sorted out, getting it all taken care of. That's being taken care of, but everything else in my life is nice and dandy, right? Everything else is feeling really, really great. So again, it's just all part of our inner work. Give yourself the opportunity to go within yourself, do your inner work, take some time away from the computer, take some time away from friends, take some time away from work, take some time away from family, and just go into your own space, whether that's just having a notebook handy, whether that's having a little digital recorder in your hand, or whatever it is, and just start talking, just start documenting, saying, where am I going to begin? I'm going to begin into the earliest point of my memory. Maybe I'll look back to when I was a year old and I felt like I had a bottle shoved in my face and it hurt my nose or something like that, right? Anything that is creating some type of conflict through the memory as well. Adronis has always stated that memory itself is nested time, and that whenever we go into the past or into the future, it's all based upon the state of memory, because whenever we're here centered in the present, then we are completely in our state of empowerment. We have no memory, we have no time, we have no form of space or even matter. We're just present. Everything is available to us. Everything through the physical, everything through the astral, everything through the causal, everything through the spiritual realms is all available to us here and now. And when we basically stay within that state of empowerment, incredible things are going to happen. But in order for us to do that, we firstly need to look into these aspects of nested time that we call memory, that we call karma. Anytime you're taken out of the moment, it is an aspect of karma. It is an aspect of nested memory. And certainly, I've been taken out of the moment quite a few times, to put it lightly. But again, it's just when you're starting to soothe yourself, relax yourself, restore yourself, that these transformations can take place. All right, so Roberto says, I've been getting memories from childhood since summer. Thank you. Great. Excellent. Like I said, now is the time where we're just going through a lot of internal work, and the planet is just heating up with all of this intense energy. And basically what's happening is so much cosmic energy is coming upon our planet. So much of the sun is transitioning, transforming, and again, putting all of these light codes into us. And it's going very, very deep. It's kind of like looking into our deep internal archives, going into our own internal vault, and it's spewing all of this stuff coming out into the open. Why? It's just because the way that the energy is calibrated, the way that everything is configured, we are moving into that direction where we can now look into what we're regurgitating in that way and being able to connect with a lot of these karmic aspects. So again, we're just refining ourselves, we're purifying ourselves, we're going into that level of renewal, and we're going into a whole new planet. I'm really looking forward to seeing how things go with Bitcoin and decentralized financial stuff in that way. And as it gets more and more popular, then I'm happy to utilize that particular type of cryptocurrency. I'm just starting to get into that right now. And I would eventually like to make my website cryptocurrency compliant in that way, but that'll take a little bit more time just as I'm starting to look into cryptocurrency in that way. But absolutely, I'm looking forward to that. And again, just seeing all of these new changes, everything that's going to be peer-to-peer, everything that's going to be grassroots, everything that's going to be much more open source. The more that becomes available, that is always a great sign to move into that direction and leave all the centralized garbage behind. Okay, so guys, how are we doing tonight? Any questions that are coming through? Let me just kind of scroll through the chat just in case I missed any. Looks like everything is just getting some comments. So what's on your mind, guys? Anything that you want to share? Anything that you've seen through the videos that have come through my YouTube? Adronis again recently spoke about 2018, the year of renewal. I also did a video on star seeds as well. There's going to be some new videos that are going to be coming up later this week as well too. So again, I'm just here for you guys. Anything that you want to share, any questions, comments, feel free to leave it on the chat. And I really enjoyed the last video that I did, which was the role of star seeds. And so star seeds has a greater capacity for understanding. And it's kind of funny though, whenever I'm on these kind of Q&A chats, it's just like people just want to comment and they just kind of want to listen and tune in. Maybe I'm very good at explaining things, so questions don't need to come up. If that's the case, hey, thanks. But again, I really enjoyed the video about star seeds. And I just really wanted to look more deeper into it because there are many various aspects of star seeds. There are those who are very much the lone wolves, and they want to come here. They don't really want to involve themselves with family. They basically are karmically immune. Usually the ones that are lone wolves, the ones that really don't want to dabble in social gatherings. They don't really want to have a family. They don't really want to have kids. They kind of distance themselves from family and friends, and they're just here to do their inner work. And those are the ones that are pretty karmically immune. and they will just be here to get the job done, to do what they've been brought here to do. A lot of that, again, is just spreading love and spreading awareness, sharing education on different levels. And once they have done that, they're able to, quote unquote, energetically pack their bags and are ready to go back to their own source once they conclude. Star seeds, of course, can come from many different regions. They can come from stasis bodies, which is actually quite common. I would say that there's hundreds of thousands of star seeds on this planet that basically have stasis bodies. And so primarily they're in these pods. They're in these kind of like chambers in that way. And it's almost kind of like looking at that movie Avatar, where we look into, you know, the gigantic Na'vi that's in that capsule and is just kind of floating in that tank with the fluid, right? It's very similar to that, is that they're basically in suspended animation, they're in stasis. Their body is in a comatose state. As it's in a comatose state, then they basically are able to go through some type of soul extraction process, and that soul essence is now being sent to Earth and incarnating into an appropriate body. But of course, that soul essence is making contracts as it makes its way to Earth. Again, it's all part of invitation. You basically meet up with a particular guide, one of the game masters of Earth, and they just kind of give you a display about the type of characters that you would like to become based upon the vibrational energy that you represent. And so because you represent a certain vibrational energy, then they say, okay, well, here's some pretty good fits of what you can be. Do you want to be this character? Maybe do you want to be female? Do you want to be male? Do you want to live in Australia? Do you want to live in North America, etc.? Right? So you basically just choose this appropriate template, and it's all based upon your qualifications, so to speak, your audition as a soul essence, and just being able to move into the earth plane and incarnate. Right? So again, there's a lot to it, but basically all of us come here to audition. So basically we are summoned here by the earth and saying, hey, there's open auditions for new people to come here on the planet and help to transform things. And then you may have a person, for example, who's very, very greedy, it's very shifty, very selfish, and they hold a lot of that energy within their own karmic field. And that particular guide will look at you and go, nope, sorry, we're not interested in having you here, right? So that's giving the impression that there is a filter, that there is a brand new transformative process from a lot of these old greedy souls, you could say, that have basically been sent away at the door. And they're just being left behind and saying, nope, you have to go to another planet, because right now we're only looking for people who are working with innocence, not harming innocence, right? So there is a very strong structure as it relates to the type of souls that are coming upon the planet right now. This is what Adronis has also said within the next 2 or 3 generations, that we're going to be seeing some new incredible souls coming into human bodies, and it will be practically like an entirely new human race, an entirely new planet. And you know, there will still be a lot of technological mumbo jumbo that's going to take place, of course, but we're going to see some amazing changes in the next coming few years into those upcoming generations. Okay, yeah, someone just says, yeah, I would like to hear more about different star seeds. All right, so basically I've given my perspective as it relates to star seeds. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Adronis in, and Adronis is going to talk more about the star seed connection, about why star seeds are here, what they represent, and maybe in that sense what type of planets they've also been working with in the past that Adronis can possibly give some examples for. So I'm just going to take a moment to connect with Adronis. Then when we come back, we'll take some more questions. But I'm going to get Adronis' perspective on this. So just give me a moment or two while I connect with his energy, and we'll begin. First, grab some water. Oh, and Alarata Ross says, anything you can share about background people? Do some of them have no organs, or is it another exaggeration? Well, we can talk about that with Adronis as well. Okay, here we go. Soul Star. Sirius. Adronis. We are here at this time. We bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning into this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we would like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all that we shall provide today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. Adronis, would you like to elaborate further as it relates to that of the star seed presence? Absolutely. Basically, you could state that at this particular time, approximately 1/3 of your population would represent that of the star seed presence. Now, basically, what we are referring to is those who have become much more active as it relates to the roles to which you would understand as activism. For activism, for the aspect of activists, truly represent that of the essence of the starseed. They are representing themselves as the driving force that is helping to provide example on the planet. They decide to become of assistance because it is in their nature to assist. They realize that they have formed such a powerful bond with this planet. They have formed such a powerful bond with nature. They feel the animals. They feel the trees. They feel the plants. They feel the elements. They feel the sky. They feel the womb of the earth herself. And that they are encoded to protect, to preserve, and to nourish that nature, that energy, this divine, loving Mother Earth planet. And so they will do whatever is necessary to go out to the public and share their own perspective and standing up without a second thought within their mind and saying, this cannot happen. We need to change our ways. We need to look into different approaches. This form of system that has been around your planet for hundreds of thousands of years, through many different forms of versions, through the idea of empires, through the idea of religions, through the idea of monarchies, etc., and now moving into the aspect of governments, is now looking to change. It is no longer compatible with the blueprint of your own Earth design. It needs to shift, it needs to transform, and these people will not stop until it has reached an appropriation for every man, woman, and child on this planet to be treated equally. Even though there are still those particular people who really do not know what to do, but they understand that change needs to take place. They realize that transformation is taking place and that they really do want to see change. But some of them may be quite bashful, quite shy, quite timid in being able to speak up to authority, because many of you are realizing exactly what authority has done. Now, some of these people also represent starseeds. They realize that something needs to change, but they are not allowing themselves to go within to allow themselves to realize that everybody is necessary for these changes to take place. Now, it is true that you have what you would know as your 100th monkey effect, your snowball effect, that through only approximately 10% of the planet that requires this shift to happen, well, that has happened far before the times of 2012. And that where you are right now, you are more so in the 20, 30, 35%, of that state of awakening, as it relates to those who, again, may not be following a spiritual path, but they are advocates for nature. And that is what is representing the star seed. And so they will do whatever is necessary to ensure that the protection, the preservation, and the nourishing of Earth takes place. Many star seeds, as you call it, that have come from other worlds, who may have worked upon other worlds, have done very similar forms. Basically, there are certain planets within this galaxy alone that you could refer to as enslaved worlds. And as these enslaved worlds are basically working, shall we say, within the dark. And basically what happens is that there are certain rulers, certain emperors upon those planets that still attempt to enforce certain laws, certain rules. And again, much of this can be divulged through that of what you would know as your Draco Empire. Is that much of the Draco Empire, in that sense, has ceded their own presence upon many different worlds and have claimed territories. Again, other worlds can differ, as there can be refugees, there can be colonists that can come upon those worlds, but they have to follow much in regards to the protocols that the Draco themselves have put together, as it represents rulership, as it represents the idea of empires, as it may also represent the aspect of arbitrary means of exchange that would more so benefit them. But there are also a federation. There is a federation that takes place that entails working with these particular souls that you can term as starseeds to come to these planets and completely bust them apart as it relates to internal systems. Simply because the galaxy is now moving into a new era, a new transformation, where the aspect of enslavement that has been taking place for millions of years through such forms as the Draco Empire, through such forms as the Orion Empire, through certain areas of the Pleiades, through certain areas of the Zeta Reticuli, that have come to these worlds and again all administrate themselves under a particular empire, and that is what you would refer to as the Draco Empire. And that again, many of these starseeds will come inside. They will basically fit the bill, as it were, and incarnate and start to transform the system from within. Now, other planets are nowhere near as intense relating to the extremes of contrast that are here on Earth. This is one of the most intense planets there is, if not perhaps even the most. Simply because human beings are calibrated to go into the deepest extremes of contrast and experiment with how far can we go without completely slipping over the edge, without causing the aspect of quote-unquote doom to ourselves. So you could liken it to the idea of a cliffhanger, and that the human beings are adept at this. That not only will they hang off a cliff with both hands, they'll now hold onto a cliff with one hand. They'll now start loosening their fingers, and before you know it, they're only holding onto the cliff with one finger. And just before that finger is about to slip, they change. And that's how your society works. Right on the deepest edge, the deepest cusp, before change actually takes place. That is how your species operates. It is an extreme observer. You look into all of the extremes of possibilities, which means you can have the most intelligent people here on the planet, and you can have the complete opposite that represent those who are not quite, shall we say, clicking in. And that all of these particular extremes, going to the sides and the flipping of the coin, and being able to explore every atom upon that surface on both sides of those coins, that is what the human race represents. You will go to the deepest levels of extreme just before you feel it's going to blow you up. That's how you work. So this is why many starseeds that come to your planet can at times be quite overwhelmed. We can't believe this species does this. They want to go right to the edge. They want to go right to the point where it could almost be the end of the species, but then all of a sudden they back up and say, okay, that's enough. We've looked into that. Any further, we'll know we'll destroy ourselves. Now, that is not always the case. There are actually times within your past where humanity has gone right to the edge and wanted to go even further. However, behind the scenes intervention came in and prevented that from happening. One example would be the weapons of mass destruction, what you would know as your atomic bombs. And that if intervention did not come forward, then basically your planet would have suffered a great amount of destruction, much more on a natural, environmental level than what has previously been predicted. In fact, it could be possible that through such incidences, your entire atmosphere would have been burned off and your Earth would have been as lifeless as the moon in eventual periods. So this is why intervention has come forward saying, oh, that's enough. That's where we're dropping the line here. That's where we're putting a wall up here. You go any further and you're going to risk harming your entire race and you're going to risk harming others. This is again why there has been a star system quarantine placed upon your planet as well, to ensure that humanity can reach its state of maturity, and once it becomes mature, it is able to be granted that ability of becoming an interstellar civilization. But again, you still have a ways to go yet. You still have a lot of working to do with each other. You still have a lot of work to do with your internal systems to transmute them, alchemically speaking, and being able to work together as a people. Unify yourselves and work together under a common banner. We will say this: when you decide publicly to become interdimensional, intergalactic travelers, money will not exist. Simple as that. Your money has to go completely. And that there will be certain means of exchanges taking place, but it will not come through the idea of what you would know as centralized banking or anything else that represents a class or a, shall we say, abuse as it relates to everybody who is able to contribute themselves fairly. There needs to be an equal balance. You will also not have war on your planet anymore. You will not allow those people who are going hungry to exist anymore. All of this needs to shift. It really just goes back into your story of the Star Trek, where there is no more war, there is no more poverty, there is no more money, there is no more distress throughout all of the people on this planet. Everybody has reached a level of salvation in a particular way. And again, that's moving into fourth density. We would also state that those who are of the fourth density will be able to become these wider spread intergalactic, interdimensional travelers. All right, so that is basically our take on the star seeds, also representing the idea of the power of human contrast. There has been a question as it relates to background people. Well, Adronis, what about background people? How do they work? Do some of them have organs? Do they not have organs, etc.? It all primarily depends. Now, basically, the background people that you notice when you are, for example, walking down a sidewalk of a busy metropolis, and you may see hundreds of people upon these sidewalks. Many of these particular people, not all, but many of them, would just be that of what you would know as holographic. They are simply synthesized light. They are basically projected thought forms. They are basically facilitated through the consciousness of the earth. And they are planted there because, believe it or not, through your own subconscious, there needs to be some type of continuity taking place. So if we were to provide an example, that as you're walking down this sidewalk and there are approximately 1,000 people that are walking to and fro, we would say approximately 10 to 15 or even tops 20% of those people, most commonly, would actually be soulful beings. So anywhere from about the 80 to 85 to 90% would actually be that of holograms. And that again, this is all part of the continuity. You will not be able to interact with those people because your subconscious is already aware of whom you're going to interact with. It's already aware in that sense about who you invite into your inner circle to allow interaction. So again, It is no more different than background people on your movie sets that are just walking to and fro. They have no interaction with the main characters whatsoever, and they are completely synthesized light. It is no more different than creating an astral projection of yourself, where you are simply holographic light. And within a blink of an eye, you can disappear. Well, the same thing goes with these beings, that within a blink of an eye, they could disappear if that fits the continuity to what your subconscious is attempting to convey to you. But that would primarily represent the energies, as it represents background people. So background people are not meant to be interacted with. They are fillers for the environment around you to create some type of continuity through your conscious and subconscious self. All right? We thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius. Thank you again, and we now return to the conduit. We will speak to you again, as now is forever, and all is one. Goodbye for now. Okay, thank you guys. So a little bit of feedback and sharing there from Adronis. Again, a lot of exciting stuff as it relates to the star seeds. And yeah, I have talked about the extremes of humanity as well too, but not really in a public forum. It's really quite amazing about how we work and how we operate. And you know, we can really only understand how amazing we truly are when we start interacting with the galactic community. Because here's the funny thing as well too that I've discovered is that many of the beings within the galactic community, a lot of them are kind of naive. Some of them are pretty gullible. Some of them are very hippie-like in that way. Ones that are more so working together with humanity. They're very easily trusting. They're easy to really kind of connect with you. You're on the same vibrational level. They have no reason to doubt you. They really don't understand too much about deception, right? So they don't really know when you're trying to trick them, other than knowing that there are shifts in your energy pattern, and then they kind of know when to back away. A lot of them, in that sense, can almost be unemotional in that way. Some of them basically flow very strongly with logic, but kind of in a higher degree of logic, like a loving kind of logic, I guess you could say, because they can be very astute as it represents technical aspects. They can be very astute as it relates to spiritual philosophical nature, but a lot of them are not as highly configured to emotions as we are. In fact, we can dupe a lot of them. They really could just be amazed, as if we were to be right in front of them, tell them an aspect of sarcasm, they wouldn't get it, right? If you basically try to throw sass at them, you try to be sarcastic with them, they're like, do you actually mean that? Is that very serious, right? So they kind of don't really get the punchline of a joke at certain times, right? So you can be very sarcastic with them. And they can, again, look into your energy field and saying, well, it appears you're lying about that, but the way you say it seems so truthful, right? So you can dupe them a lot of the time, right? That's primarily how a lot of these civilizations work, from how Adronis has shared it, is that a lot of them do not have this type of contrast of emotion. In fact, a lot of them can appear very robotic-like. Not to say that they aren't loving, but they don't get our humor. They don't understand how we're, you know, just in this kind of joking, sassy, sarcastic way. It's alien to them, right? To a lot of them, not to all of them, but to a lot of them. And there's nothing like that on their world. And a lot of them, again, are highly telepathic and can read your energy field. And again, they can just tell that when you're trying to hide something with sarcasm, they can kind of see through it and say, well, you're saying this, but it feels like you're hiding this behind it, but you're doing a really good job of trying to think like that's the truth, right? So again, when we start looking into the galactic community, we're going to be quite pleasantly surprised and saying, you know what? Human company is not so bad. You know, we have a lot of contrast. We can crack jokes with each other. We know when we're kind of pulling off some sass in that sense. And we have to educate this to a lot of the galactic community because they don't get it. They don't really understand humans at all. And a lot of that sass just probably wouldn't flow with them too well, right? So it's a very different world when we eventually become an intergalactic civilization and start looking at some of these species from different worlds. A lot of them love us, but they don't get us at all, right? And so we kind of have to educate them in that way. That's the funny thing about it. Okay, guys, I'm just going to scroll down the list and just see if we have any More questions here. Okay, there's something here from Ren asking, hey Brad, what is the ripple effect on the moon? I haven't actually seen a ripple effect. I'd probably have to see a picture of it first before I could give you any kind of insight on it. But I don't know. I'd have to look at that. Okay, going down. Okay, Jerome asks, is that why they may be interested in our silicate matrix DNA template? Maybe. Oh, absolutely. DNA is one of the most highest commodities in the galactic community, right? Because we're a universal model archetype. Our DNA is so sophisticated and quote unquote open source that a lot of other beings who may have certain fragmentations within their DNA, certain distortions within their DNA, they will come to Earth, and many of them will follow the certain protocols. And they can actually access a lot of our DNA template through, I guess you could say, many means. And then there can be a lot of different forms of calibrations to working with their own genome in kind together with ours. And some of them may work, again, for certain levels of exchange. Again, there is a trading center, as you could say, or trading centers that exist within the star system, and that there are beings that gather together for trade. A lot of it can be technology, a lot of it can be biology, a lot of people can be traded to go on other worlds, and who knows what happens to them, right? I haven't looked into that too deeply, but absolutely there is a lot of exchange happening. A lot of it seems to be around the moon, Mars, and Jupiter, and even some of the Maldek asteroid belt as well too. Some people will actually just go into the Maldek asteroid belt and start mining for precious ores as well too. And I'm pretty sure there needs to be some permission aspects to that as well. But there's a whole huge intergalactic trade. And a lot of the beings that actually manage this particular trade are Syrian, right? Not Adronis's people, but basically a lot of the beings from Sirius B. So you could look at beings from humanoid forms. The canine beings would be another one. There can be, again, other ones that look like Zedans as well too. They can manage it. And again, a lot of different other humanoid beings as well too. Tall whites can be one example as well. Certain reptilian beings, reptoid beings. So it's kind of like looking at a New York Stock Exchange, but looking at it in an intergalactic way. Even when you go to Sirius B, it would very much function in that way. Everything's trade, everything's an open level of commerce, but not through the aspect of currency that we would understand. But again, it's all about trade and barter and all of that, right? Syrians in Sirius B are notorious for that. And so a lot of them have actually worked with humanity quite a bit. This has not only just been documented by other people, but from what Adronis has shared as well too, is that a lot of beings from Sirius B are highly technocratic, and they will work together in helping to understand certain technologies. They just have an adept mind. They can basically look at any type of ship, they can look at any type of device, and tell you exactly what its purpose is. So some very, very sharp beings. So again, the canine beings, the Zedans, human beings, reptoids, etc., are all very common around these trades. Tall whites as well. Okay, so going down the list here. Taylor says, I feel reptilians understand our humor a little more than others. Perhaps. I haven't really talked to too many reptilians, so I've certainly seen them in certain visions as well too. There are reptilians I've seen that are phenomenal healers. They can be very, very loving. It just depends, because everything is a faction, everything's a group. If you try to generically explain what a certain race is like, you're only seeing a very small amount of the picture, right? Everybody is part of a group, and it's kind of like looking at us. We have many different factions within ourselves. Not everybody upon this planet is hostile and greedy and wanting to take over the planet and squander resources, etc. It's the same thing with many other races. It's the aspect of the Draco, for example. There is certainly a Draco Empire, and there certainly is high royalty figures that are there, but not all of the Draco are like that. There are actually some Draco that have decided to come to the light, and they're actually working together with some of these super federations. Adronis has also talked about other races that have come very, very deep from what we understand as our future, and are actually coming in and giving us a lot of information as well too. It's all part and parcel of shutting down this old dimensional veil that has been available for thousands and thousands of years, where a lot of the elitists on this planet have basically cast these satanic ceremonies and black magic. and have basically invited in these beings, which are primarily the jinn, right? The jinn would primarily be these dimensional beings that is creating equivalent exchange and saying that you start doing human sacrifices, you start doing this, you start giving us this power of the human being, and we'll tell you certain hints. We'll give you secrets about how you can dominate the planet, and then secrets into black magic, etc. Right? So a lot of it is the jinn. So you could say that the jinn, the Draco, AI can be these kind of triad of I guess you could say mongerers in that way, relating to a lot of this slave grid that has been around this planet for thousands and thousands of years. And the jinn have basically had the biggest beef with humanity because they were once naturally populated on this planet. They were able to go in between dimensions. They love the earth as well, but as soon as humanity was introduced, it's like, right? They were basically just groaning about it. And this is again why many civilizations went into the interior of the earth. Some other civilizations went into different dimensional earths as well too. And the jinn were like, I'm not bowing down to these friggin' humans, right? We were here first, tell them to screw off. Right? It's like, no, this is all part of the plan. This is what Earth herself wants. You can either cooperate with the humans or you can leave. And so some of them almost wanted to start wars as well too, and saying that we're not leaving. You're going to have to try and, force us off this planet. And there were a lot of, you could say, almost elemental wars about actually taking the jinn off this planet. And they were basically banished. Even if you're looking into the ancient tellings of Solomon, of King Solomon, who again imprisoned the 72 jinn in a vessel, right? Well, there's a lot more to that. That's going back into the ancient times, where a lot of these jinn were just operating on the earth, and you could say that they're shapeshifters. Adronis refers to them as mind shifters, but they're able to transmute their own forms into other different aspects. A lot of them can appear as shadow beings, a lot of them can appear as animals. Even some of the werewolf legends that we have can also be jinn. Even some of the true vampire legends can also be jinn as well too. What we can understand as the genies, or the dark genies in that way, can also be the jinn. So there's so much, guys. There's so much that's happened on our planet that we're not even being told. And when you start to put all this stuff together, it starts to make sense. It's like we just all have our own pieces. I'm no 100% expert on the jinn. I just receive what's coming through, either through Adronis or through my own higher self, etc. And just putting these things together. But there's been a lot of turmoil happening on our planet in ancient times, even before humanity set foot on here. There was a lot of dominion here. Even when you look into the inner earth basically have territories or countries in that way as well too. I haven't talked to Nefertitis in a couple of weeks. He is kind of maintaining radio silence right now, simply because when I was attempting to connect to Nefertitis in the dream state, there were some interventions along the way of beings that were not too polite, not too friendly, and there was actually an attachment that came into my crown chakra that was quite unexpected. And then I woke up the next morning, and that's when I had that situation with that crow. That crow was just brushing my head and basically attempting to clean up my crown chakra. When I went into the pyramid and did a meditation that evening, just a very high loving meditation, there was actually a dragon's face that came in like roaring at me. And it was kind of like a multicolored, kind of like rainbow effect, but kind of very eerie. And I just noticed that, and I was like, oh, welcome. Hey, how's it going, right? And just giving that being a lot of love. Probably didn't like it, and then it just left after that, and so the attachment was gone. But that was something that intervened when I was attempting to connect with the Delphi a lot more. And I think that's something why there's been a little bit of radio silence right now between them and I, is that the last thing they want is to have anybody compromised in being able to pay them a visit. And that's basically what happened. And so I know that if I do pay a visit with the Delphi again, it needs to be a golden ball, golden aura. It needs to be a very large enchantment of love energy that comes through, so that that bubble can bring you safely into their domain. But I was able to see some of the Delphi's homeland. It was quite beautiful. It was like looking at Sweden, right? It was just all this vast land, and there are these little like houses and huts. They're a very indigenous type of race. They use crystal technology. They're very, very indigenous. They're very much at peace with the land. Again, they don't have farmer land or farming land in that way. Everything is just planted in nature. They go through the nature. It's almost kind of like going into the jungle and just knowing exactly what to eat, what to take out of there, as well as what to put in. And they're a very, very agricultural loving race, but there's actually some beings in the inner earth that don't like them, right? And they would rather be at war with them, but because there's truces that are coming together, those wars can't happen, right? But as far as human beings are concerned, well, those truces haven't happened yet. So if any humans try to come into the inner earth, at times there can be these beings that will try and intervene, and they will attempt to attach to you and create these entity intrusions, as they did me. Fortunately, that only lasted less than a day. But the key is just love, is just loving them, seeing them as oneness through yourself, and that's what's going to shift that whole aspect. But unfortunately, beings like that exist. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll down the list here. I'm just reading some comments. We're going to probably take another 15 minutes here with the webcast tonight. Okay, so let me okay, it looks like I'm frozen in the video feed, but I hope that's not the case. I'm just going to keep going here anyways. Someone says Rothschild family in the gym. Well, it wouldn't surprise me if they were in cahoots. Absolutely. You can say that the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers are very much into the reptilian agenda in that way. Jinn, quite possibly. Again, well, a lot of the ceremonies that have happened across the planet have all been part and parcel of these great oligarchs that come forward, or people who think they're great anyways. These great oligarchs that come together and basically perform these ceremonies. So you could say that all the elitists in that sense have worked with the Draco, have worked with the Jinn, and many other different types of beings, right? So, okay, guys. Oh, okay. It says I'm not frozen. All right, that's probably just my own local view here. Glad to hear it. Sean Bond says, "Hey Brad, how do you feel about doing a show sometime?" Oh, Sean, you can contact me on Facebook, email, or just go to my website and you can contact me there, or you can just drop me an email, info@newearthteachings.org, and we can talk about it. Sounds cool. Connie asked, I used to wake up from nightmares with a lion's face roaring. Yeah. I mean, I've seen similar things to that in that nature. Again, I've had beasts roaring in my face. I've had some really grotesque looking ETs that have actually come forward in that way. Just while I'm laying down and just going to sleep and just attempting to center myself, and sometimes I do get these intrusions. Actually, I'll tell you guys a secret that I haven't told anybody, and this is something that's been around since 2009. When I look at, I guess you could say if I'm using my rebounder, like my trampoline in that way, there's a little black dot that actually comes out through my left eye, and it's actually connected to the right hemisphere of my brain. And I was doing a scan with it not too long ago. And basically this was a draconian implant. It was actually something that was a transmitter from the Draco. But just doing a further scan on it, the good news is that this has been deactivated for quite a few years, but the device is dormant inside my brain. So I don't know if someone performs an autopsy, the time when I pass away, they may actually find a small device contained inside the right hemisphere of my brain. It is a physical device. And it is something that it may just be very minute. I wasn't able to get a very good impression of what it is, but it may be something that almost looks like a tiny sphere in that way. And it's basically just, it's like a little black dot that just comes into my view. And it's kind of harmless in that way. But I was doing a scan on it and saying that, yeah, this was a Draco transmitter. And this was happening well within 2009, just when I was first starting to wake up. So, pretty funky in that way. I'll tell you guys another secret as well, too. Now, I can't share these particular forms of photos that have taken place. Back in 2009, I received an email from a friend of mine. Again, he'll remain anonymous. And it is a perfect image of a Zayton, of a gray, that was sighted in somebody's backyard. And they actually took photos of it. And I actually have those photos, but I cannot share it because the person does not want to come out to share this information, but it's a perfect beautiful, clear image of a little tiny gray in that sense. And he's kind of doing this. He's just kind of peeking around, and he got some really good shots of the photos. I still have the photos backed up. But again, it's something that really just amazed me. My friend was saying, "Oh, Brad, is this like a future version of myself?" And like, really? That's what you're going to ask? In regards to this that's come through. So that has been, if I was to release that into public, that would create a shitstorm, I'm pretty sure. But I vowed not to ever share that with anybody. But that is something that is within my possession. And I do have 3 of these pictures of this little Zayden being in somebody's backyard having a barbecue. And it is in South America. And that's what I can share about it. But again, I cannot share it simply because of confidentiality reasons and just not sharing it. I can talk about it, but I can't share the pictures in that way. So that's just a cool little thing. Again, some secrets of myself that I haven't really revealed yet. But who knows? Maybe there's some more in time that I'll reveal. So I'm just going to read more further down here, guys. Thank you again, everybody, for being here. I really enjoyed your questions. I really enjoyed your interaction. We're probably just going to take another 5 minutes or so, and then we're going to wrap up. Okay. Some people are asking, well, Brad, do I have astral implants, or is there implants within me? Through the spiral Akashic viewing, I actually check to see if you do have implants in that sense. I use not only my own intuition, I use certain kinesiology techniques as well too. I go into your energy field and look. The good news is that quite a few people who have done the spiral Akashic viewing yet, I have yet to find any implants in them. So that's quite good. So it is quite I wouldn't say it's a rare thing, but it's not too frequent that happens. Basically, a lot of the implants that we get nowadays are more so codes. But basically, the foreign implants I look for would be more kind of physical based, or maybe if it's something that does stand out. But we're getting light code transmissions all the time. Those are implants as well too. And we're receiving new strains of thought, new streams of thought, new streams of feeling that are now moving ourselves into becoming a new personality, a new archetype as it relates to our spiritual journey and our life mission, so to speak. So there's a lot of light codes that are coming through, and everybody has them. I mean, 100% of the population is exposed to a lot of these light code frequencies. Again, a lot of them are produced by the sun. A lot of them are, again, part of certain forms of extraterrestrial intervention. A lot of it is galactic energy, galactic dust that's coming into our star system as well, too. So there's a lot of explanations to it. But yeah, we're getting transmuted all the time through frequencies, through light, through synthesis in that way. It's beautiful. Okay. Sandra asks, do these implants block our memories? I know I have been abducted and feel I have implants still in my body. From what I've received, yes, there have been certain implants that are there that actually render a dormancy in certain areas of the brain. And so certain memories are blocked. It's kind of like how we're trying to imagine a dream, right? And a lot of these situations, especially with a lot of the contactees I've talked to who have gone on board the ships, like with the Zaydens, and they just can't remember it. They have little glimpses here and there, but there's a lot of suppression, right? So it's kind of like we're trying to remember a dream. But usually I recommend hypnotherapy, going into a good hypnotherapy session with a very good hypnotherapist. And at times you can retrieve a lot of these memories. However, it's important that, again, the hypnotherapist is good. Usually when I would suggest going into hypnotherapy is being able to get yourself into the deepest levels of trance as well, too. I have seen quite a few people on YouTube through hypnotherapists, and they're describing certain things. But intuitively, I would just say no. A lot of it is distortion. Really, where you're going to get a lot of the great information is when you bring yourself into the unconscious, right? And so when you're very much going into deeper trance states, and a lot of people just say, I'm communicating with the Pleiadians, and water comes from the Pleiades and stuff like that. What the hell are they talking about? No, water comes from the sun. The sun is basically the entire aspect about how water has come into the star system, because basically if you're looking into the sun, it has the capabilities of water, right? And it's basically being synthesized upon a lot of these planetary worlds. Basically, you could say that every single planet at some particular point within our star system has been something that may seem Earth-like, or again, resemble life in that way. But through a lot of centuries, millennia, or perhaps even millions of years of war. A lot of these particular planets have been ravaged. They've been stripped of a lot of different resources, and that's why some of them can appear dead-like in that way. Even the gas giants in our planet as well, too, once resembled habitable atmospheres. I'm not too sure if it was possibly habitable for human visiting in that way, but it was not in the condition as they are right now. So a lot of quote-unquote the evidence within our star system has been seized, have been destroyed, have been fought over. There are certain remnants that are still planted on some of the moons, some of the planets within our star system as well too, and those are important artifacts for us to eventually discover once we start to go beyond Earth and become an interstellar civilization. So one example can be what Aldrin has talked about a lot, about the monolith that exists on Phobos. Right, there's that, of course, not to mention everything that's happening on the dark side of the moon. Even more stuff that's happening on Phobos. A lot of the ancient civilizations that exist underground in Mars, the ancient pyramids, the ancient sites, the ancient temples, everything that's strewn about on Mars, that's for human beings to find as well. Looking into a lot of the moons of Jupiter, the moons of Saturn, all of our gas giants. There's so much for us to discover, and I really can't cover it in the next 2 minutes. But again, we're really looking forward to some amazing things that are going to be a part of our future in the times ahead. So I'm happy to see it. Okay, we're going to see if I can kind of bring in one more question here before I wrap it up. Well, we got some good questions here. God, it's hard to choose one. Here's one from Julio. How can we check ourselves for attachments or hitchhikers in that way? Well, the best way I would say is meditation. Meditation can be the best way. Calling in your spirit guides can also be a good way. If you're quite adept in developing your own kinesiology, muscle testing, that can also be a good way as well too, because that's partially what I do, is I just connect to a person's energy field and I use kinesiology to get to the bottom of a certain area where an implant may be. Then I tune into that implant and get an impression about what it entails. So again, I would say meditation, energy work, kinesiology, even resonant tuning, for example, if it's bringing you into a certain state of consciousness, that can also help as well. And there are people who are quite naturally in tune to connect with you and can help to work with astral implants. I'm one of those guys. My friend Eric Rains is one of those guys as well too. So there are some people that can work with you on that level. All right. Okay, guys, we are going to wrap up this broadcast now. Thank you so much for a wonderful first broadcast here of New Earth Teachings Facebook Live webcast. And I look forward to speaking to you guys next week. I will be back next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Pacific, 9 p.m. Eastern. And I'm sure we'll probably have a good topic to discuss then. But really enjoyed myself. I hope you guys have enjoyed yourself too. And I will speak to you again in another perspective of the now. Take care. Talk to you soon.